The morning sunlight spilled through the wide glass windows of Hawthorne Market, painting bright patterns across the polished floor as customers pushed carts through the aisles without realizing they were about to become silent witnesses to a story that would change several lives forever. At the very back of the store, hidden behind stacks of cardboard boxes in the employee break room, a young cashier sat alone with her face buried in trembling hands. Her shoulders shook as she tried to stop herself from crying before anyone noticed. Just outside the slightly open door stood a quiet man wearing a simple blue employee polo and a name tag that read, Ethan. To everyone else, he looked like a new stock clerk learning the ropes. But no one knew that Ethan was actually the billionaire CEO who secretly visited his stores every few months to see how employees were truly treated when the executives were not watching. He had planned to spend the day observing operations in silence. Instead, the heartbreaking words he overheard from the young cashier shattered something deep inside him and reminded him of a painful chapter of his own past that he had spent years trying to forget. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, compassion, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness so together we can spread stories that remind the world that even the smallest act of kindness can create the biggest miracle. The young cashier's name was Lila Morgan, a 24-year-old woman whose warm smile had impressed everyone during her interview only a week earlier. Customers often thanked her for being patient and cheerful, but none of them could see the heavy burden hidden behind her bright eyes. Every morning she arrived before sunrise, carefully ironing the only work uniform she owned. She walked nearly 40 minutes because she could not afford a car or even bus fare every day. She counted every coin before buying groceries, skipped meals whenever necessary, and still found herself falling behind on rent. Yet she refused to complain because she believed that hard work would eventually open a better door. That morning, however, everything felt different. A phone call from the hospital had informed her that her younger brother Noah needed another expensive medical procedure. The family had already exhausted their savings years ago after their parents passed away in a tragic highway accident. Since then, Lila had become both sister and guardian, sacrificing every dream she once had. She had abandoned college, worked endless temporary jobs, and carried responsibilities that seemed far too heavy for someone so young. When she thought no one was listening, she whispered through quiet tears that she did not know how much longer she could stay strong because she could not bear the thought of disappointing her little brother again. She wasn't asking for riches. She simply wished for enough to keep her promise that he would never lose hope. Those simple words echoed through the break room and reached Ethan's heart with unexpected force. Years earlier, before becoming one of the country's most respected business leaders, Ethan had watched his own mother work double shifts while hiding her tears from him. He remembered the helpless feeling of being unable to ease her burdens. Listening to Lila brought every painful memory rushing back, and for a moment the successful executive disappeared, leaving only the frightened young boy he once was. Instead of revealing his identity, Ethan quietly returned to the sales floor and spent the day observing more carefully than ever before. He noticed how Lila greeted every customer with genuine kindness despite carrying invisible pain. She patiently helped an elderly shopper count loose change, comforted a frightened child who had become separated from his mother, and stayed after her shift to help another employee organize misplaced merchandise without expecting praise. Even when exhaustion showed on her face, kindness remained stronger than hardship. As the hours passed, Ethan also noticed another side of the workplace. A supervisor constantly criticized newer employees in front of customers, creating unnecessary pressure instead of offering guidance. Several workers seemed afraid to ask questions, worried they would be embarrassed. Lila quietly accepted every unfair comment without defending herself because she feared losing the only stable job she had managed to find. Watching this filled Ethan with disappointment. His company had always claimed that respect came before profits, yet somewhere along the way that promise had been forgotten inside this particular store. He realized that policies printed in manuals meant nothing if leaders failed to practice compassion every day. During lunch, Ethan intentionally worked beside Lila while stocking shelves. Without asking personal questions, he simply treated her with genuine respect. He thanked her whenever she helped, encouraged her efforts, and noticed how surprised she seemed by simple kindness. It saddened him that basic human decency had become something rare enough to surprise her. Late that afternoon, a customer accidentally dropped several bags near the checkout lanes, scattering groceries across the floor. Before anyone else reacted, Lila rushed forward to help gather every item while reassuring the embarrassed customer that accidents happen to everyone. Nearby shoppers smiled as they watched her gentle patience, unaware that the same young woman had nearly broken down only hours earlier. Ethan finally understood that character was revealed not during comfortable moments but during difficult ones. Despite carrying unimaginable burdens, Lila continued making life easier for complete strangers. That quiet strength deserved more than sympathy. It deserved opportunity. The following morning, every employee was unexpectedly called into the store meeting room. Confused whispers filled the air as managers straightened their uniforms, wondering why corporate representatives had arrived without notice. Lila stood near the back, worried she had somehow made a mistake. When Ethan walked to the front of the room wearing a tailored suit instead of the simple employee uniform, stunned silence spread through the gathering. No one recognized the quiet stock clerk anymore. Standing before them was the company's founder and CEO. He thanked every hard-working employee before explaining why he secretly visited stores. He spoke about dignity, respect, honesty, and the responsibility every leader carried toward those who made the business successful. Then he addressed the behavior he had personally witnessed, making it clear that humiliation would never be accepted as a management style within his company. Several supervisors lowered their eyes in embarrassment. Finally, Ethan turned toward Lila. He explained that while reviewing the store he had discovered someone whose kindness reflected everything the company hoped to become. He announced that Lila would receive a full educational scholarship funded by the company, immediate financial assistance for her brother's medical treatment, paid family leave whenever necessary, and enrollment in a leadership development program because he believed she possessed the heart of a future leader. Lila stood frozen as tears streamed down her face, unable to believe that the impossible had suddenly become real. The room erupted into heartfelt applause, not because she had received charity, but because everyone knew she had earned every opportunity through quiet courage and unwavering compassion. Months later, Noah successfully recovered after his treatment. Lila returned to work with renewed confidence, eventually becoming one of the youngest assistant managers in the region. Her first change was creating a workplace where every new employee felt welcomed instead of judged. She remembered every painful day she had survived and made sure no one under her leadership would ever feel invisible again. Ethan often said that the greatest investment any company could make was not in buildings or technology but in people whose hearts remained kind despite life's hardest storms. Profits could build larger businesses, but compassion built lasting legacies. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave a heartfelt comment below, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps us continue sharing true-to-life stories that remind people there is still goodness in this world. Special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe one compassionate act can completely change someone's life. As Lila walked home beneath the bright afternoon sky, she realized that hope rarely arrived with loud announcements. Sometimes it appeared quietly, disguised as an ordinary stranger willing to listen when the world looked away. And Ethan learned that the strongest leaders are not those who command from distant offices, but those who are willing to stand beside ordinary people, understand their hidden struggles, and lift them when they need it most. In the end, neither of them received exactly what they had expected from that ordinary day at the grocery store, but both discovered something far more valuable: the life-changing power of compassion, dignity, and the simple courage to care for another human being when it matters most.